Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers and anyone else who has popped in because you are curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone. I'm Chatty and this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I need to chat away madly to find out, are you sleeping on this duology? This is the Radiantempireduology by Shelley Chan. First book being She Who Became the Sun, second book being He Who Drowned the World. And I want to know, are you aware this exists? Have you read it? Why not? Do you think this could be for you, or do you think this book has been marketed incorrectly? Because I've read this series. I've just read this duology. I've just finished He Who Drowned the World. I really loved She Who Became the Sun. He Who Drowned the World absolutely lived up, and I think possibly could have enjoyed this even more than She Who Became the Sun. And I just think I can't see any people talking about this duology in a way where people like gush about books. I've seen people going like didn't enjoy it, or overhyped, or like failed, or not enough magic and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's been marketed at the wrong people. This is marketed as a fantasy. It's not a whole fantastical lot going on here. It's epic. It definitely has that feeling of epicness to it. But it's not really hugely magical and giving you all the kind of like fantasy stuff that you might want in your fantasies. So I wonder if the right people are getting to it. This is a Chinese historical epic. That's how I would describe it. I would say it's more historical with a touch of magical realism. The magical realism comes in ghosts. But they don't play a huge part. They are part of the story, and there's definitely a place for them in here, and I don't want to spoil stuff, but it's not like a major thing. Like there's no kind of like massive features to it. There is also the sort of like the radiance. There's these like fire that you have, and it kind of shows that you are on target to like become someone that could seize the empire, and that's it. That's all the magic that is in here. Everything else, everything that makes this amazing is from the characters, the politicking, and the themes of this. So this is based on Chinese history, and it is at the fall of one dynasty and the emergence of another dynasty. It's been inspired by historical figures. These historical figures have been reimagined. It has a queer feeling to it's a queer story. There are queer characters in here, and the character arcs are epic. There is a lot of kind of work and history and kind of development, and how these different characters interact with each other and react to certain things and make certain choices, and what those choices then go on to mean. There is a lot of politicking in here, and you know it's about, you know, trying to get power, basically. It's about war. This place is at war. There are different factions kind of wanting in on this. It's very much of the kind of vibe of the quote from Game of Thrones: when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. So there is a lot of high stakes and consequences and different kind of power vacuums going and being filled. So if you're into all of that kind of stuff, all of the politicking, all of the Machiavellian, all of the war games, have you read this? Because you should. If you are also into kind of themes about what is life worth, what is worth, who is valued, then this is beautifully explored in these as well. And it also really looks at, in kind of that idea of worth, sort of what it means to be a man. And in man, kind of, I'm using it in inverted commas, so like man as in someone to be respected, admired, someone who is thought of as being honourable and strong, like that. So, you know, you could put any other word in there if you wanted to, but in this particular societal norm, that basically means man, and a particular type of man that those values are attributed to according to this society. But that is challenged by different characters in here. And it does really look at all of those things in a way that is awesome. It starts off in She Who Became the Sun. exploring. You have different characters that are kind of despised in society. And you definitely kind of follow two characters in this book, one of which will be the main character that you will know of, Zoo, who is a girl who takes on her brother's destiny when her brother dies. And she takes on his name and she wants his destiny. So that's kind of, everyone knows that part of this book. But it also explores kind of manhood is seen as this kind of like epitome of successful, strong, able-bodied war person. Whereas a lot of the characters who are men, there are ones who are different to that. And we also have women that we see in this book, and they have strength, and it's exploring all of this, you know, who is valued and who deserves respect, and just like challenging this societal norm. And all of that is picked up in He Who Drowned the World and like taken further, and these characters start to kind of come across each other with their different plans, and you can kind of rethink what you thought of them. Different choices are made, the consequences for those choices, and it is such a brilliant exploration of those themes. There is a really great look at gender in here, like how we think about gender, what kind of the typical masculine traits are, what the feminine traits are, whether we despise those or whether we esteem them. And I just think it's a wonderful exploration of all that in this backdrop of this historical Chinese epic. The detail in here is wonderful. I found the plot really engaging. It is a slow burn. So if slow burn is not your thing, then maybe it's not going to be for you. But if you like slow burns, building up, if you enjoy the politicking, if you enjoy exploring those themes and that sounds interesting, please pick this up and read it. And what really is finally kind of looked at, it starts off in here and definitely ends up in the second book, is sacrifice worth the end result? Is everything you've gone through to sacrifice and things you've left and things you've gotten rid of and choices you've made and what you've done to your soul and your personality and your spirit, is it worth it? Do you have regrets? Are there consequences? And things that happen in book 1, we get the fallout in book 2. So if that sounds up your street, please read this. Please read this, because not enough people are talking about it from what I have seen on BookTube, and they really, really should be. The politics and the themes just come through so much in He Who Drowned the World. Like we get a taster for them in She Who Became the Sun, and it really just all comes into play in He Who Drowned the World. I thought it was fantastically done. I think Shelley Chang is an amazing writer. The detail, the intricacies of this world, the sense of time and place, you are just immersed in all these different parts. So from like the really, I want to say kind of like starving kind of farming peasantry, like just dust, kind of drudgery, despair, to this learned place of monks with all of their different routines and laws, to battlefields, to palaces, just all of these different places. You just really feel immersed in there, and the characters feel so real. There is they are a range of grey characters. You can feel sympathy for a character in one moment and sitting, and then be so frustrated and almost kind of like horrified by them the next. It's just so beautifully done. Personally, I adore Zoo. I love her. I think she's incredible. She makes me laugh so much. She is not like a physically strong person, but her mental strength and her plans and just this charisma and charm she has is wonderful. She's also described as just like ugly. Like she's not described as kind of being physically pleasing to this society, whether that's in her female form or whether that's in her male form. Like that is spoken of throughout. But what people warm to is the energy that she gives and just this charisma that she has. So I just think that's a wonderful kind of twist on when we hear about like physical appearances. Like often it's like they're not beautiful in the normal sense, but there's something about them that people do find beautiful. Whereas we are told throughout this that that Zoo is ugly. People look at her and just don't think she's pretty or he's pretty, and that doesn't matter. That's not important. That's not what Zoo needs to give. And Zoo, yes, like when people say that to her, she's hurt and it never feels nice, but that's not the important thing for her. Like, she knows her worth. She clings on to her worth. She takes her worth and she's like, I deserve this. This is what I want and I'm going to go for it. And I just find it wonderful. I find the relationships she has with different people in here, like, I really enjoy them. I find them fascinating. They're really interesting. I really just think you should pick it up and read it. Like, I would love to kind of go more in depth about this book and kind of go do another video like more further into like the themes and kind of like what happens and how this all pulls together and kind of like get into more grips of like the different character arcs in here. But I feel at the moment like I just can't do it justice. I can't do it justice. I would need to reread these and then kind of go into that video. But if I have said enough to whet your appetite, and if you're someone that likes historical fiction, if you want to know more about Chinese history and kind of get a sense of being in that place, if you enjoy political war games and political like games of power, if you want to explore themes of gender and worth and how society views those, do yourself a favour and read the Radiant Empire duology. You're welcome. Happy reading, everyone.